Hi, we're live. Welcome to the show, CAD Live. It's been a few days, actually, it's been a few days since me and Jack caught up. It's also been a few days since I've been on, actually. And what's the reason for that? Well, it's been sunny in London, so I've been outside tanning my nutsack, as we're told to do by the new age people on Twitter. Not really. I haven't been doing that, but I have been out and about. I was out filming something for a special project yesterday. Going to be doing some more filming later today. Just come off the back of the Dating Conversation Success launch. We did the webinars for that last week, so I was kind of a bit burnt out from that last week. Interviewed Donovan Sharp on Saturday, which was good. And I've also got an event I'm doing with James Tusk over the next few days in London as well. So it's been a pretty full diary, but there's been a lot of more like offline stuff rather than online stuff, if you know what I'm saying.
You have a life outside of the internet?
It's amazingly so, yes. And how about you, Jack? What have you been up to? Because we've not caught up for a bit, have we?
Narrating, a lot and lots of narrating. Been doing a couple of live streams on my channel, not too much. The original videos have taken a back seat because of the narrating that has been going on. I'm almost busy with our largest project up to date, which is coming very soon. We have one of the smaller projects we are done with talking about today. What else have I been doing? Working on my approaching skills as well. I've been holding myself accountable to at least tell a girl she's cute every day. That's going fine.
Good.
Approach anxiety really is just the opener. And as soon as you're like, hey, you get the attention, you look cute. Done.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you think to yourself, oh, it's not that hard. You move on from there.
Yes.
Because the weather has been great. And as we all know, when the sun's out, the skirts come out. And by God.
What for you?
No, not for me. No.
No. I don't know what these Dutch traditions, we start putting skirts on and, whatever.
Wooden clogs and skirts. By God.
Yes. Well, I mean, I have to say that the weather, I think, is making a huge difference in terms of people's receptivity, because when I've been out and about and I've been having conversations and, paying compliments and things like this, the reception has been significantly better over the last couple of days. And there's often a number of reasons for that. It could be something to do with my vibe. It could be because maybe I'm looking a little less deathly because I've got a little bit of color because we've been out in the sun. But equally, a lot of it is going to be to do with the fact that everyone is just in a better mood. Everyone's in a good mood, wearing a bit less, feeling a little bit flirty, and just enjoying the vibe. And so, and you can see why Latin countries, can't you? You can see why Latin countries, they've got this very flirtatious kind of sexual vibe, right, going on. Because, well, I mean, fundamentally, if the weather's better, it just seems more like the thing to do. When you're in a sort of fairly cold, rainy northern European country, it's a little bit miserable, isn't it?
They're not freezing to death. They're not wet all the time. It's not dark 24/7. I couldn't imagine living in where is that? Is that Norway? Where it's like only 6 hours a day, daylight, something like that, or Iceland. That's not Scandinavia, I know, but there's one of these northern countries that are very cold, where it's only like 4 to 6 hours of daylight every day. It's horrible. Could you imagine living there?
Yeah, I mean, no, absolutely horrendous. And I think the truth is, oh, sorry, I'm just trying to read something.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
Like, sorry, mate.
Important. No, I have the same thing, man. You should have seen my show yesterday. I was like doing 3 things at the same time. I'm like, people, please forgive me.
Yeah, exactly. No, so yeah, I mean, the weather, it just makes a massive difference, doesn't it, to people's moods? And there can be no doubt that if you're talking about approaching, if you're talking about interacting with women, if you're talking about improving social skills, doing that in warm weather is just better. Unfortunately, that's just the reality of it. And that's not to say that it's not good at other times of the year. I mean, in London, actually, the Christmas period is very good as well, because you've got that kind of warm glow of the season and everything going on. So that's quite nice. But January, February, March, this sort of time, it's just a bit rubbish, and there's not really any getting around that, I don't think.
Oh no, absolutely. Although as of late, Tinder, the online stuff has been atrocious for the last couple of weeks. Don't know what it is. It's like all of the maybe girls all of a sudden decided, you know what, we're gonna come out and go out in droves on the dating apps.
Right. Okay.
All of them. It's like, oh my god, I have been nixting left and right. Maybe for minuscule things, but I have taken a more ruthless approach to online dating.
In what sense?
There are no maybe girls. Everything maybe is no. It's just no. I had a girl yesterday. We went back and forth. We had a lot to talk about. She drummed as well. We were both in the middle. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I got the number, which was already a bit of a hurdle, where it was like, I don't know. Then we talked a bit more, and I mentioned like grabbing coffee together and things like that. She responds with, I'll think about it. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Never mind. You don't want that. You want a girl who's enthusiastic about you. Oh, yes. But you need comfort. Troy, I do agree to comfort on some degree.
To some extent.
To some extent. But I've had girls who wanted to meet me within 4 or 5 messages back and forth. Where it's like, I just think this guy's hot. He thinks I'm hot. Let's just meet and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
So
exactly.
Everything below that level of enthusiasm is just a no for me.
Well, there's a couple of things that spring to mind there. The first is, I think it's by Mark Manson, article by Mark Manson, where he talks about hell yes versus hell no.
Yeah, but he still mentions the maybe girls, where it's like, oh, if you just put in a little bit more effort, and I'm like, no.
Does he? I'm not sure, because I've just actually listened to the audiobook of Models by Mark Manson, which is something that I've avoided for many years. I've obviously been aware of it, very, very big title in this space, and I never read it, partly because people were sort of, oh yeah, it's a bit purple pill and whatever, all that kind of thing. But James Tusker's spoken very highly of it, and so I listened to the audiobook, and I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. And it seemed to me that in that, what he's kind of saying is, because he talks a lot about differentiation and just effectively like being yourself, but obviously caveat, best version of yourself, but being yourself and just putting yourself out there. And if people don't like that, well, fine, because she probably wasn't the right person you want to spend time with. So, just be authentically you, and you're going to attract the right people. Okay. So I don't know. I mean, maybe he's also elsewhere sort of talking about the maybe girls and,
maybe I'm wrong. I could be standard corrected.
Well, I don't know. Well, the jury's out on that one, but there's another resource anyway, which is the guy who wrote No More Mr. Nice Guy. What is this guy called?
Robert Glover.
Robert Glover, right. So I didn't know, but somebody who was actually on Dating Conversation Success told me that he'd written a book about dating as well. Did you know that?
No.
So Robert Glover has a book which is called, let me find it on my Audible, Dating Essentials for Men. So here it is. You can see the wonderful front cover there. So Robert Glover has a book called Dating Essentials for Men, which I wasn't aware of before. Somebody told me about it who was on the program, Dating Conversation Success. And I thought, well, that sounds kind of interesting. So I got the audiobook for that as well. And I've listened to that over the last few days. And I actually really enjoyed it. I mean, it's not like he's saying anything revolutionary. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to listen to it and go, oh my God, my entire paradigm of dating and so on has entirely changed, because obviously that's not the case. But it's quite good, though. I quite enjoyed it. And one of the things that he talks about in this is basically what you're saying. So he says, look, there are either high interest girls or low interest girls, and there's nothing else. And that, I think, is and so what he then says is, so what you have to do is you go up and you go and just talk to as many women as you can. Like we always say, be social, go and talk to lots of people, and gauge interest. And if interest is low, then okay, fine. Have a nice day. See you later.
No
if
hard
interest
feelings.
is high, then you proceed on to the next stage. And it's very, very simple. Very, very, so simple to say, so obvious. And yet it kind of, I like it because it kind of takes the pressure off you in a way. Do you know what I mean? Because you could literally go and have a conversation with the girl in the library. She's like, yeah, I got a boyfriend. Okay, fine. She's low interest, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's it, and he says, don't take it personally. Don't, vilify them or anything like that. It's just, it is what it is. But I think that distinction is good because it's like, whereas you might think, okay, well, she said she's got a boyfriend, but she sort of smiled, so maybe she's kind of interested. And if I just, what are the top 5 lines that I can use to convert her in this situation? But instead of all of that, you just think, all right, sod it. No, she is low interest. Okay, she smiled. Okay, we had a bit of a flirt. Okay, she even laughed at my jokes and maybe touched me on the arm. But ultimately, she's low interest. So I move on. Fine.
Mm-hmm. Because what will happen, and this is something that Andrew Tate used to advocate for a lot. And in his words, if she's being a dickhead, attention reduced to 0. Even if she does like you, but she touched your arm, she laughs at your jokes, yada 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 yada.
Yeah.
And then she throws in the "I have a boyfriend," and you immediately reduce attention. One of 2 things will happen: either 1, nothing, and she actually has a boyfriend, or 2, she sees the error of her ways, sort of say, like, oh shit, he's actually leaving. I thought I could dangle my how do you phrase that? My
attention.
No, not attention. Approval. I could dangle my approval like a carrot on a stick in front of him, and he's not taking it. Shit, I better cut it out. Like, I better play serious with this guy because he's not messing around. So either way, you win. You will either save time because you're not dealing with anyone who is just using you for attention, or you find out that she actually does want to get to know you.
Yeah, exactly. I think this comes back, doesn't it, to abundance mentality in the end. And it's knowing and believing that there are enough available women, attractive women out there for you not to have to waste time with this particular one or that particular one. And I mean, you live in a relatively small place, don't you? It's not like you're in the center of some teeming metropolis. It's not like you're broadcasting from New York City or anything. And yet even for you, right, there's enough out there.
Yeah, because the Netherlands is very well connected.
Yeah.
With public transport and things like that. The biggest city, Groningen, is about an hour away. I am cycling to a place nearby to get my tattoo fixed up a bit, like the second session.
Okay.
Only 1.5 hours on bike. It's pretty doable. Hey, it's Red Introvert. What's up, man?
Red Introvert is in the chat. Good to see you, man. Hope you are well.
From fancy Australia.
Is he in Australia?
He's from down
okay.
under.
Very good, very good. Good to see you, man. We had another Australian in here, actually. We've got Mark Australia, who is in here, saying that he's an Aussie. We've got Jimmy the Vampire, who likes the thumbnail. Thank you for that. We've got Simon saying, how are you, Jack?
Doing well, Simon. Hope you're doing well as well.
Good. And then we've got quite an economically based question here from Pepsa Stomna. So Yotri and Jack, how would a wave of massive global inflation effect approaching? Would gold digging increase? Would dating have restaurant coffee spots removed from it? That's an interesting question because, of course, we might. I mean, nobody really seems to know, but we might end up seeing inflation after everything that's happened.
Oh, we are already seeing it. Just look at the housing crash. Or housing market, sorry. It hasn't crashed yet.
Well, I've heard some differing theories on this, but certainly it's it's either happening or it's definitely possible to happen. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you think about Berlin in the 1920s, when there was hyperinflation, it was a very decadent sexual period, wasn't it? I mean, people were getting their end away all over the place. So it's, but I suppose it's a good question, isn't it? Is it with the increased danger of poverty and money not stretching as far? Is there going to be more gold digging? Is there going to be more? Are women going to be seeking provisioning more than they were before?
I have a meme to express what will happen. Let's see. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Here you are. Check the StreamYard Studio.
Here we go. Here we go. Okay, let me just take that off.
This is probably what will happen with the dating market.
Yeah, indeed. Hang on a second. Let me just do one thing. Yeah, yes, very, very amusing. Yeah, no, you might well be right.
Let's see. What was the second half of that question? Would gold digging increase? Look, I have a certain opinion about gold digging, and I would love, again, I've been saying this for a while now, I would want to get one of the Deca millionaires or whenever they have time to talk about this. Gold digging is self-inflicted. Now,
for the person who's being gold dug, you mean?
Exactly. I know a lot of people don't like me saying this, but I truly believe in my heart of hearts, of what's left of it after my nicotine period, that everything that's going wrong in a relationship or whatever is down to you. Now, okay, Terrence Popp did not deserve his dog to die. That is a horrible thing that happened. And yes, some women are absolutely atrocious, horrible beings.
I don't know much about that story. I don't know.
Oh, it's a horrible story. Oh my God. His divorce story is absolutely horrible.
Really?
Oh, look it up, man. That is one of the horror stories. It is.
Really.
It is insane. But so there are like exceptions to this norm I hold myself accountable to. But the more I hold myself accountable, the more I am responsible for the outcome. Where it's like, so when it comes to gold digging or whatever, if you don't want to be abused, let's say, for your money, then don't spend it on her. Gold diggers are motivated by something. Even if you have an expensive watch, most girls don't know what a Breitling is. They really don't. It's not the watch or whatever. It's mostly not even the shoes. I can make 100 euro shoes look like 1,000 if you just treat them right, if you know what I mean. So it's not necessarily in the clothes or whatever. Maybe not even in the cars, although that would be a bit debatable. But you feed them. Gold diggers go for the guys with the scarcity. I was thinking about the opposite of abundance, but the scarcity mindset, because those guys willingly give over their money to her. Instead of the guy who has money, who's like, let's grab some coffee. Now, a gold digger will probably say, coffee? You have a Lambo. Why are we going for coffee? I want champagne or Cristal or whatever that's called.
Yeah.
No, I'm not good. I'm not good at doing impressions, but that's up to you to tell her, no, I don't know you. I'd like to get to know you. And I do that over coffee. Now, by judging your reaction, this is not going to work. Now, scarcity guys will probably say, oh, she's already angry with me, and maybe I am a bit cheap, and well, maybe she's right. And it's your bloody money. You can spend it however you like.
Well, it's a frame battle, isn't it? Because her frame is, it's right that a guy should do this. It's right that a guy should spend a lot of money on a woman when they first start dating, right? That's her frame. That's her position. And your position is, I don't believe that men should spend a lot of money initially. I think a coffee is fine because we're just getting to know one another. And if your frame crumbles in the face of hers, you go, oh no, actually, maybe she's right. Maybe I should, and she is very attractive. So maybe I should spend a bit more money this time.
Yeah.
Then that is, your frame has crumbled already, right at the beginning of the relationship or whatever that relationship would be. And that is not a good thing to allow to happen.
Exactly. I mean, I'm all for spending money on a woman you're into, but don't let that be, like you said, the established frame. I mean, I've spent money on girls who I've been dating for about a year, maybe longer.
What a cuck.
I know. But we started out coffee at her or my place.
Yes.
That was the established frame.
Yeah, absolutely. I just don't think it's necessary. And I mean, even if you are a multimillionaire, and we know some multimillionaires, friends of the show and all that, and even they would not spend, well, because they're in this space and because they're wise to this stuff, they would not spend a ton of money right up front on a woman that they've only just met, because it's not necessary. What is necessary? Well, what's necessary is you guys sit down and talk and see if there's chemistry there, right? Mm-hmm. That's what is required, but you don't need to spend a lot of money. And actually, if you go to fancy places, particularly going for meals and things, you go to a restaurant with her, that is a very bad idea for a first date.
Yeah,
it's like it puts too much pressure on the first date, because apart from the money consideration and all of that, you're locked in for 2 hours or at least an hour and a half with somebody, and you don't even know if you like them yet, right? And I'm not coming at it from a sort of like, oh man, it's all personality and and you've got to be on the same astrological vibe and everything. But ultimately, there are some people that you have better connection with than others. And I would not want to be locked in for 90 minutes to 2 hours with somebody if they're a pain in the ass, but you didn't know that before you taken her out. So I think, and even whether you're doing daytime approach or you met her in a bar or you met her on Tinder, I mean, yes, if you met her face to face, you're going to have a better idea. But even still, I think that first sit down meeting should be over a drink or over a coffee, rather than locking yourself into something that's going to be expensive and it's going to take a long time, because you might want to get the hell out of there.
I don't know about you, but I don't even like eating together with friends. It's like, no, I'm here for food. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a brute when it comes to that. Like, food is for fuel. Like, shut up. Not now.
No, I concur with that. I concur with that point.
Like, when it's coffee or whatever, you take a sip, things like that. It is... I mean, we're drinking right now. Non-alcoholic, of course.
We're drinking heavily.
Yes, bamboozled. But it's way easier to have a conversation with drinks than with dinner. Like, plus you're gonna have your mouth full, and people ask you questions, and you're in the middle of a bite, and you have to excuse yourself and then chew a bit faster, swallow, and then you can finally answer the question. And just, well, by God.
I mean, I'm sort of, I see where you're coming from. I mean, I'm largely in the camp of food is fuel. I'm not really a big foodie. I'm not really somebody who takes photographs of their smashed avocado toast and all of this kind of thing. I think it's a little bit, and I actually think it's a symptom of a wider issue, though, which is that as a society, as a culture, and you could say, masculinity, but in general, as a culture, we've become very spoiled. And we've become very superficial and shallow. And because, well, prior to COVID, I suppose, we haven't really had to endure very much inconvenience. We've all become these incredible food snobs where people are discussing, oh God, it's got to be with chopped kale and all this kind of thing. And I'm sort of like, well, where the hell did that come from? In my day, you go down the Greasy Spoon Cafe and buy, your English fry up, and that was it. Now it's sort of everything's got to be very fancy, and there's all these millions of cookery programs, and it's fetishized, I think.
I absolutely.
And try queuing in a Starbucks behind a Karen, where he's going, oh yeah, I want, have you got oat milk? I want half oat milk, half goat's milk with some shaved nutmeg, and yeah, can you half hot water, and put some ice in it as well. It's just, they're so complicated. And I just go in and say, yeah, black Americano.
Americano for me is already fancy as fuck. It's like, what happened to black filter coffee?
Well, no. All right. Yeah. Well, I prefer actually black filter. I do prefer filter coffee.
I have a new coffee machine. Finally, a good one.
I mean, some places for some reason don't seem to sell filter all the time, but I do prefer filter. I just think, keep it simple, guys. So I do agree with you on that. I do think that this is basically fuel. You're basically keeping the engine running. Let's not get fancy about it. Let's not fetishize it. At the same time, I don't have the aversion to meeting up with people for a bite to eat. That can be quite nice. I mean, I met up with James Tusk actually maybe it was, I don't know, a few days ago, and we did meet for coffee. And I get it for a shortish. Let's
Who
just
paid?
He did actually. I am the gold digger.
Good man.
But I do agree. If it's like, oh, let's meet for a chat, then yeah, coffee, great. But I don't mind meeting up with people for food. I think that's perfectly fine. But I'm just not as fancy about it as some people,
Same. I mean, I love. It's something I've been doing since last year. There is a steakhouse nearby that has the best spare ribs you can think of. They just fall off the bone, that tender, and it's all you can eat for less than $20 per person. So I just take a couple of my friends on my birthday there. Wonderful bite to eat, good company, and it's less than $100. I mean, what more do you want? We just get this giant glass bottle of water in the middle, and this bottle, giant bottle of water in the middle. What more do you need? Like spare ribs, just bring them. It's all you can eat. Bring it. Love it. But the whole fancy dinner things where it's like, why would I want to do that with somebody I just met? And again, then I'm thinking to myself, guys, this is self-inflicted. Stupid though, because when I was younger, I was kind of like a movie theater guy, like let's go to the movies together. And I learned that from Corey Wayne later on. And it's like when he says it, or when he said it, I thought to myself, how did I never think of this? He's like, you're going on a date for the first time with a girl, and you're going to a movie theater where you have to be quiet, sitting in the dark, paying attention to a movie. How is that a date? I'm like, God damn it. It makes so much sense.
It's a very bad idea for a date. I mean, you need to be able to talk. You need to be able to sit next to each other or sit, side by side, whatever, and talk. And well, your job is to attempt to ignite and escalate the chemistry. But at the very least, you're checking if there's chemistry there. And you can't do that in a movie theater. I saw a movie last night, actually, first time for a while. I saw the movie Nobody. Has anyone seen it? Nobody. Is it out in the Netherlands?
It could very well be. Who's in it?
I don't know. Some guy, not very well known, I don't think. It was a pretty dumb movie, to be honest. I just went on the sort of, it wasn't planned, just went with a couple of friends because they were going to see it. Fairly late showing. Very, very dumb movie. It's about this guy who was former FBI sort of, he called himself an auditor, but basically he just kills people, and he's this really, really tough guy. He goes on a bus and he beats up like 6 guys and all this kind of thing. And there's this Russian mafia boss, it's like a sub Tarantino-esque kind of thing. They're playing lots of like quite cool music and stuff, but the dialogue just very, very dumb, very, very stupid. But it was quite entertaining, I have to say. I kind of enjoyed it.
It's that guy from Better Call Saul.
Is that who it is?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it this weekend. Probably, I'll text Watson. We always watch cheesy action movies on Saturday.
It was quite fun. It was quite fun. There's a great. Sorry.
Well, they are. At least they're not political. It's just guy, mission, kill.
Yeah. It is basically just him going and killing a load of people, and it's quite entertaining from that point of view. There's a great scene as well where he basically burns his house down because he's got his family, he's got his wife, 2 kids, and he was previously he had this very murky but violent job as this FBI or CIA guy who was just going around and finishing off the job, I think is the thing, and now he's retired. He's retired from it, and he's living in suburbia, and he's being like a good, high-quality family man. And, there are scenes where he's like, oh, shall I cook that lasagna again for the family? And it's all that. And he's put his past behind him, but then he gets pulled back into it, which is the thing. So he gets pulled back into it, and now he's being attacked by these Russian dudes, and so he's got to, sort it out, right? And so they're sitting around having family dinner, and then these guys come. So he puts his family downstairs into the basement, and then when the danger's gone, he brings them out again, and they drive off and they go to somewhere to safety, and he's left alone in the house, basically to fight off all of these dudes. right? So he's dragged entirely back into his former life. And a bunch of the guys that have broken into his house to kill him, he's got them all downstairs sitting on the sofa. And then he says he sets fire to his own house. He sets fire to the basement. And he basically says, and there's a photograph of him and his family. And he basically says, it was always all a facade. Oh, you know, and there's a great part. It's almost like this moment was always coming. And he burns the house down and he walks out of the house. And it's like, I just found that bit really good because it's like he's going back to his renegade self. It's just like, fuck all of this. He's burned it. I'll burn my own fucking house down. I don't care because I'm so much of a G. And that was great. That was great. But unfortunately, without giving too much away, of course, because it's a Hollywood movie, at the end, you know, he kind of obviously, you know, he kind of reverts back, you know, and he's with the wife again and everything like that. But I quite liked. It's a bit like, you know, have you seen The Usual Suspects?
No, not yet.
Oh, mate, you got to watch that. It's fucking amazing film.
There's a lot of movies I still have to watch. A while back, I watched that new Jason Statham movie, Wrath of Man. And what's his name? Clint Eastwood, his son, is in there as well.
Oh, really? Really?
Oh, it's a good movie. Can you excuse me for 5 minutes while I get another coffee?
Yes, absolutely, if you like.
Be back in a bit.
Cool. Well, there you go. He's just basically wandered off and left me on my own. But yeah, Nobody was... It was a dumb movie in the sense, I mean, dialogue very bad, pretty stupid. But it was quite fun. I quite enjoyed it. So I don't know if anyone's got any questions at the moment or points that they want to make or raise, please put them into the chat and we'll try to get round to them. But basically, one of the key reason really that we're coming on today is to talk about approaching and going from the approach to the date, because obviously that's the name of the game with all of this stuff. And I've been out training some guys over the last week in London. And as we've been saying, you know, the weather is fantastic. London, although the government has put back the complete unlocking date for 4 weeks or minimum 4 weeks, nevertheless, the reality is we are, to all intents and purposes, kind of open here. And the vibe is good. The vibe is very, very good because you've got people out and about. You've got loads of women out. You've got so I'm just trying to look in the chat. Oh, Jack is back. Here we go. Let's add him back. I was just hey, welcome back. I was just sort of going into talking about the approach to date aspects of things, which is obviously why we're here, and just saying that the vibe in London certainly has been very good. You know, the weather's been good. We are semi in lockdown, but we're, to all intents and purposes, we're kind of out of lockdown, really. And yeah, you know, now is a great time to be out and about approaching. But of course, what you need to do is, first off, you need to approach. So you need to get it. You need to do that bit, and then you need to make it into a date. Okay. And yeah, I think that we've been through this intense period of lockdown. Guys and girls, of course, have been locked up for many months, and the social side of things has suffered, hasn't it?
Yeah, the social side has suffered, and I've been saying this on the last couple of live shows I've been on, and even on my own shows. Tinder has spoiled me when it comes to the quick and easy, sort of say, and that's why I now have the position of it is either yes or no. There is no maybe, because I'm kind of used to the girls who, well, want me, sort of say. And there's not much of them, but they are there. And when it comes to approaching and things like that, when you're stuck on Tinder, that will take a hit. It will take a hit, because approaching somebody in real life is way different than on an app. Because on an app, you don't have to deal with, oh, what is she going to think of me? Or are the people next to her going to hear me? Or do I look stupid? Or is she going to laugh at me in the middle of the street or whatever? Those are all thoughts that will cross your mind when you do it. Like, approach anxiety is a thing for a reason. You don't have that on an online app. It's very easy. It's a buffer. When you go back to Rational Male 1, dating apps are buffers. Rolo isn't wrong. And being able to approach in real life, and like I said, I have been honest about this, I was rusty as well. It helps you a lot with the online thing as well when you actually get a date with a girl, where you can show you're socially capable, sociable, as you like to call it in your books, to hold a conversation and actually have a nice date with someone.
Yeah, it very much does, because I've done a lot of daytime approaching over the years. I've socialized in the daytime a lot. I've met many different girls through cold approaches, through just going up and saying hi and you look nice and I wanted to have a chat and whatever. And that has in itself been very successful, but perhaps an overlooked part of it is that it paves the way for meeting women in all different kinds of circumstances that are maybe less high pressured. So one of those is, of course, the dating apps, because as you say, the dating apps are, you don't get approach anxiety on a dating app, really. Well, at all, I don't think. And if you're in a bar, for example, and you're standing next to a girl at the bar and she's ordering a drink and you're about to order a drink, that in comparison to walking up to somebody in the daytime that you've never met before and beginning a conversation with them, that's actually a relatively easy approach to do. If you've got momentum, if you've been speaking to people in Whole Foods all week or whatever, and then you're in a bar where it's a very social environment and people are talking and it's sort of kind of expected, it's actually very easy to turn to that girl who's standing next to you at the bar and start a conversation with her. It's easier because you've got the momentum behind you.
Mm-hmm. You've actually learned to open, sort of say. You have crossed that border, boundary, whatever you want to call it, of yourself being frightened to do such a thing. Like, let's say you're in a bar and you've taught yourself to at least say, hey, you look cute to someone. When you're in a bar and something like that happens, you do it like, it's like breathing to you. Like, hey, you notice her. Like, hey, she looks cute. Hey, you get the eye contact. You look cute. Done. And from there, since you're already in a bar and she's probably pretty close and she's standing, you can continue the conversation.
Yes.
But yeah, those are my 2 cents about it.
Yeah, definitely. So, and then, like you say, actually on the date itself, because there are 2 distinct skill sets here, really. You've got the approach and you've got what happens in that initial meeting, what happens in that initial conversation. But then if it goes well and you guys choose to meet up again, then you've got the date as well. And the date is somewhat different, right? Because if you are somebody who gets very good with making approaches, you get very good with having those initial conversations, then that's great. But Tusk actually talks about this himself. You can then be on the date and find yourself not kind of knowing quite what to say, or you're not able to maintain that facade that you originally presented, right? So the date is separate, but it's an equally, if not more important skill set to handle.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing with guys these days. We talk about girls not being the best when it comes to social interactions. But from what I hear with the girls who are, a lot of guys out there don't even know what they're doing either. It's, well, most of them are used to video games, sort of say, internet chatter. Like they have been using the online apps as buffers. They every now and then talk to their coworkers, but that's it. When they're across a woman who they find attractive, they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, because look, if you want the thing to go further, and let's face it, if you're out on a date with her, you do, because you find her attractive, you want it to move in a particular direction, then you've got to have the skills there to convert that date into something more, right? Because the date, it's not like the date is an audition, but I suppose it kind of is, in the sense that she's there going, well, is this guy what I want? Is this guy worthy for me to sleep with, or to go on further dates with, or even to get into a relationship, right? You know, she's evaluating you, and it's your chance, it's your opportunity to show her that, yes, absolutely, you are the right guy. this should continue to another level, okay? And if you fluff that, then you've lost the opportunity. And it doesn't matter how great the approach was. It doesn't matter how clever your original line was or anything like that. If you fluff it, you fluffed it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And what's even more important, can you filter out if she is right for you? And you kind of need to be a good conversationalist to get that above the water as well.
What would you mean by good for you if you're just looking for a one-off thing, though, or if you're just looking for a very casual, like a fuck buddy or something? Is that would you still be vetting at that point? I guess.
Well, for that, yes. Is she interested? Because a girl who's open to, like, let's say a fuck buddy thing or whatever, would gladly drink coffee at your place.
Yeah.
Under the notion of coffee. And she wouldn't give you a hard time on the whole, oh, I want to go to a venue. I want to go here. I want to get to know you first. No, a girl who's open to that and has that attraction to you. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, by the way. You know that Rollo phrase, attraction versus arousal?
Yes.
And if I am correct and interpreting that right, it's you want that attraction thing. Is she like viscerally, primally attracted to you?
Well, I think actually he is it not arousal? Because I think he says so attraction, she can be attracted to you because you're a doctor and because you've got a nice car and because you've got high status and things like this. But that's different to arousal. So arousal is the guy at the Cancun phone party.
Yeah, then it's the other way around. You want arousal.
Yes.
That's the one you want.
Yes.
In all honesty, because arousal can go into attraction. From attraction to arousal, you know what I mean? You get back to the whole alpha fucks, beta bucks kind of thing.
No, it's completely that. It's completely that because she can be attracted to somebody who looks good on paper. It's like, yeah, he's got the car, he's got the house, he's got the mortgage, he's got whatever it is, and those things are attractive. But that doesn't necessarily mean that she's aroused by him. Now, she might be because he might have the full package, as they say. But it doesn't necessarily mean that because she can be aroused by the pool boy. She can be aroused by the guy at the Cancun phone party, who may also be a pool boy who's on his day off. Not saying it's only pool boys who get laid, but whatever. So arousal is a different thing. And like you say, it does go back to the essential dualistic hypergamic nature of the female.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what you're looking for. Isn't there a story about that in Rich's book where, what was it? Some woman told him, no, I only do that on date number 8 or something like that. And within 30 minutes, they're banging in the bathroom or something like that.
Yes, I think I remember that. Yeah,
because he called her out on her bullshit. And I've been thinking about this a lot because, like I said, the last couple of weeks on Tinder have been nothing but maybe girls and things like that. They're probably attracted to me on paper, but the arousal just isn't there. And when I try to make them come out, sort of say they're hesitant, and I get pushback, so I just leave. What was I about to say? Oh yeah. And I was talking to a friend about this yesterday, and I'm like, most married couples are that. Most married couples are maybe girls who a guy convinced to go on a date with them. And I'm like, imagine finding out years later, like reading Rational Male or whatever, and then noticing like, I wasn't her first choice. I had to negotiate a date with her. She had hoops in front of me I had to jump through to get her here. And I'm like, I may be quick to the trigger on nexting, but at least I will not walk into that. I'm like, no, that is my worst nightmare, ending up like that. As soon as a carrot is dangled in front of me, I just leave. That is no way of interacting with the other sex.
Sorry, when you say when a carrot's dangled, what sort of form of carrot do you mean?
Be it a date, be it physical interaction, be it sex, be it whatever. It's like,
yes,
I don't give out my number that fast. So talk to me more. Jump through my little hoop. No. I don't go on dates that fast. I want to talk to you more. Nope. Oh, I don't have sex on the first date because I need to. Nope. Just nope. Not doing it. Like, because at that point, it becomes a negotiation position. I know you want sex, and I'm declining you now. I know you want a date. I know you want my phone number, but I am declining you right now because I want you to prove yourself to me. No. When that primal arousal is there, you won't get a no. You will get a hell yes. And I had the epiphany yesterday where it was like, by God, man, most men are in negotiated relationships.
Well, that's probably true, isn't it? That's probably true on some level. I mean, and certainly I was out yesterday and we were walking around and saw a few couples, and I was saying to my friend, like, you look at some of these couples and they just look so miserable together. You know, they're sitting there in front of each other, looking on their phones and whatever. And yeah, it's yes, I mean, it's a bit of a sad state of affairs, isn't it? If the majority of, I mean, I suppose we don't know, but if the majority of long-term relationships actually are like that, because the conditions that you need to satisfy for a serious long-term relationship, they are somewhat different. You know, ultimately, she, in many cases, you know, she has the path planned out. You know, she wants to have children. She wants to have a certain sort of life. She wants to, whatever, you know, 3 holidays a year, live in a nice area, go to good schools. You know, you've got all of these different things. And the pool boy may not be able to provide that. In fact, probably won't be able to provide that. So the pool boy isn't going to get the LTR necessarily. But he might get the sex, which is obviously great if that's all he wants. Not necessarily going to get the LTR. But the guy who does get the LTR is not necessarily going to be her first choice, right? Because maybe she preferred the pool boy.
Mm-hmm. He may not be the father of the kids. That's when you get the whole I want children versus I want your children.
Yeah.
The older I get, the more I understand that. And the more I'm, well, again, like, quick to the trigger on nexting. It's like, nope. It's just a waste of time because...
Well, some people might argue, though, playing devil's advocate, some people might argue that, firstly, that you're missing out on opportunities because some of those perhaps you could have converted. And secondly, ultimately, then, are we saying that game doesn't exist in any meaningful way? And all this is really about is just constantly, you know, getting into contact with as many different women as possible. And some of them are going to like you and some of them aren't. And you're effectively weeding out the ones that don't.
Good point. Very good point. I would say no. Game is king in everything. In everything. Because that arousal thing
comes about because of game. Or in part becomes about because of game. Because you go in, like it depends how you define game, doesn't it? But essentially, because game is an umbrella term that incorporates so many different things, and part of that is how you look, it's how you present yourself, it's your confidence, it's your dominant, you know, like all of these different things, and maybe to some extent, you know, the lines, you know, the verbal approach that you take, and are you teasing, and are you a little bit cocky, funny, and whatever, right? So all of that stuff could be classed as game, but that stuff could all be delivered in the first two minutes because you walk up, you're a certain kind of guy, you've got a bit of a swagger to you, you introduce yourself with a cocky, funny line, whatever. That is your game. Now, at that point, if she goes, well, I don't normally give out my number to guys that I've just met, then you can then just say, well, okay, fine, and walk off because you've already done the game. The game was the first bit. And if she wasn't buying into that, then it's not that there wasn't skill there. It's not that there weren't things that maybe you had to learn or you had to develop, but she's not responding to that with high enough interest. And so you choose then to eject.
Yes. You're not wrong when you say you're going to miss out on opportunities.
Well, that's a slightly separate thing, isn't it?
But the thing is, again, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. However, I would rather have the minimum amount of girls I've had that were where I texted them, hey, I'm free tonight. Oh, what a coincidence. So am I. Then the girls who are like, well, I'm not free tonight. Okay, when are you free then? Well, maybe next week. I'll text you. And you happen to do get a text next week, sort of say, and you go on a date. It's always lukewarm. So I wouldn't say it's not possible. It really is. I mean, I've seen you do it. I've seen countless guys do it, where it's like, I have a boyfriend. Well, he's not invited. Or, well, somebody has to pay for the drinks. Or, you look like a girl who could use two. Thanks, JD, for that one. But personally, right now, I just don't want to deal with it. Where it's like, I have experienced a couple of girls where it was, oh, it's you. Come over now. Which made me realize that that is worth so much more than some girl who's lukewarm and kind of like, yeah, I'm in the mood, you'll do.
Yeah, and there's there's also an element of self-respect about it. Because if you are that high value guy and you respect yourself and you respect your time, are you really going to be chasing around after somebody who's lukewarm in terms of their interest? And there's also just time efficiency as well, because again, we've got stuff going on. We haven't got time to be following up. We haven't got time to be messing around with this stuff, right? And so, but ultimately it's personal choice. If you're in a slightly different phase in your life, and again, it comes down to the individual girl. If you're particularly attracted to her, if you really think that there could be something there, then yeah, maybe you want to spend a little bit more time on it. But I mean, I have to say, I do rather like your slightly more totalitarian approach to this now, Jack, which is just like, no, fine, next.
I have become what I hate, totalitarian.
yeah, exactly. We've got a few comments and stuff in the chat here, so let's have a quick look and see. So
I even had a date. When was it? Saturday? And what was it? She was sitting next to me and I had her arm around her. And she's like, oh, most dates are so disappointing. And I'm like, okay, what's your impression now then? She's like, oh, well, I'm actually pleasantly surprised and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, you can just kiss me if you want. She's like, oh, well, I don't know if I want to. So I make a move and she immediately like backs out. I'm like, I'm going home. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, that just gave me the impression you are not interested enough in me and I would rather spend time with somebody who does not give me that vibe. So enjoy your day. Goodbye.
And you left?
I left.
And what did she do? What did she do? Did she look shocked or did she?
She's like, oh, I hope you don't take it personally. I'm like, no, I'm actually happy you did this because now I can spend time with somebody who does want to be with me. And I know that sounds like a bit brutish. I know I should have said, oh, no, of course not. Enjoy your afternoon. I still had some coffee. I was like, fine, I'll drink the bloody coffee. But why would I, in heaven's name, would have stayed there after a rejection like that? It's body language as well, people. Like, when she turns away from you and things like that, or gives you the cheek or whatever, it's like, nope. Bye.
Although again, playing devil's advocate, you might get the cheek early on in the date, and you make several attempts, and so I think it's a balance between being completely intolerant and just bailing as soon as any sort of form of pushback, because there's always going to be an element of pushback because there's a bit of a dance with this stuff, or maybe not always, but there's often going to be an element of pushback. But I think you have to gauge it for the individual circumstances. But yes, I think if somebody is very clearly sort of messing around or game playing or just trying to obtain hand in the situation, then yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, just leave, right? Because who's got time for that?
I mean, these things aren't in the first minute of me walking in.
Yeah.
Although
like,
I do tend.
Oh, she didn't stand up. Right, next.
Next. She didn't make eye contact. Bye.
What a bitch.
But I do tend to go for the lips right away Because there's a Dutch thing as well where you give each other 3 kisses on the cheek.
The vaginal lips or the
no, the mouth. Like,
okay.
No, I just like Sterling Cooper style push her on the bed. But
not recommended by this channel.
No. We were joking, people. We were joking. But there's this 3 kiss thing you do, but I tend to go for the lips right away. And in the past, it has worked for me. Where again, the girl had the arousal for me, where she let me do that. Where she was very open with her body language, like, yes, I am okay. You do this with me. I even had a girl tell me, that was so fucking hot. I'm like, what do you mean? Well, that I just walked up, you'd never see me, and you go straight for the lips. I'm like, no, I go for what I want. She's like, yeah, good on you. I'm like, well.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So Asian Murad says, the last Saturday I was playing night game with 2 girls and all of a sudden 4 natural guys came in and the girls left me and went with them. I can't forget it. Yeah, I mean, it's a bummer. You know, a night game can be... Where are you living, by the way? I mean, I'm jealous you can even do night game. We can kind of do it here now, I suppose. The bars are open, but the clubs are not open. But yeah, man, I mean, you know, it's the sexual marketplace can be a cruel mistress. You know, it's things like this do sometimes happen. It's unfortunate, but hang on a sec. Just got a quick. Oh, wait a minute. We could get James Tusk on it very quickly, actually, if you fancy it.
How quickly are we talking about? Because I do have to leave in a bit.
Well, fairly quickly. But we could do it as rolling shifts, can't we?
Oh, that can do too.
I'm quite hungry though. I'm going to need to go in a bit. So where were
since
we?
We're both leaving anyway. Just drop him.
Just
in
leave
for
him.
Leave him here. Like,
yes.
Have fun, James.
So yeah, I mean, you know, this kind of shit happens. I mean, the key, you've got to just try and put it behind you. I mean, the key thing is that you were out there taking action, right? And you've got to congratulate yourself on that. Yes, it stings. Yes, it's fucking annoying. Whatever, but there it is. Chalk it up to the game, man. There's nothing really more you can say about that, is there?
I did that to a guy once. We had a Brazilian exchange student. I know. We had a Brazilian exchange student, and he was dancing with her, but she and I had already been back and forth flirting a bit every now and then. And he was dancing with her, and I walked up, and I remember her turning around to me. He was still standing there. She looked at me, and I just went right for the kiss. And within like a minute, we were French kissing, and he was still standing there. I'm like, oh, wow, I am such a dick. But that just happens sometimes. I mean, you can do the same thing to two different guys.
I think sometimes, you know, like in some contexts, you are the alpha bad boy. And in other contexts, maybe less so, right? It all depends on. Well, there's so many different factors with it.
It is context again. Like I'm saying, I am short for a Dutch guy. I am 6 foot. Most Dutch guys are like 6'3".
Yeah,
something like
that.
It's
all context. And you know, I was listening to a podcast this given by this British guy who's like into the whole party circuit, and sounds like not a player, not a man, you know, not a dating coach or anything like that, but somebody who clearly seems to go to some pretty fancy places, you know, Dubai, Saint-Tropez, what's the Greek one? Mykonos. I think he's in Miami at the moment, living the life and no doubt getting success. And he was talking about how one time he was at a party and I think it was in France. I think it was in Saint-Tropez or something. And they had these girls sitting at the table and it was all very nice. And, you know, everyone was having a great time. And then Leonardo DiCaprio walks in.
Yeah.
And suddenly it was like the vacuum, like you know, suddenly that table is empty. And then Leonardo DiCaprio is there for like half an hour having a drink with these girls. And then he leaves and all of the girls follow him out to go to whatever after party he was having. So, you know, it's like, it's all context, right? And I've no doubt that some of the dudes who were the original guys there before Leo came in were probably good looking and, you know, had game and all the rest of it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know,
could you be able to AMOG that? Like, would it be possible?
Well, I don't know really. I don't. I would. I mean, probably. I would say probably not. But we got Mr. James Tusk here.
There he is.
Have you? Because it looks like a blank screen to me.
It looks blank. You're coming incognito.
I'm not sure what's going down, to be honest. Let me.
He's in the dark room. He's in the dark room in Bergheim.
Let me,
Do you want to exit for a minute?
Let me exit and come back in. Hold on.
Okay. He's coming back in, Troy. Lube up. Oh,
well,
dear.
indeed. Yeah. So I don't know. Could you AMOG in that situation? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
The only thing I could think of is that you game Leo, where it's like, okay, all these girls are into him. I am not focusing on the girls. I'm focusing on him.
Yeah, because because if you were able to become part of the entourage, or you were able to become, so say all of the girls went back to the party and you also went back to the party because you were mates with, you become friendly with Leo, then you're in a good position, right? Or you're in a better position.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I don't think so. I don't really think so, because I think at a certain point in terms of status, you're screwed. I don't think you can really fight with that. By the way, before Tusk comes in, we should probably mention that we have a product coming out next week, don't we? Next Friday.
Yes.
We have an audio product coming out, which is what we wanted to alert you all to, which is going to be called Approach to Date Toolkit. And it's basically 2 audiobooks written by me, narrated by Jack Napier. And do you want to say a bit more about it?
Yes, I actually do. I am very, very proud of it. I'm very proud to be able to work with you on this and that you let me narrate it. Very happy about that. And the product will contain Approach Her Like Chad and Text Game Mastery. Now, funny thing, I was a bit cheeky on it. Troy and I were discussing it a bit. He's like, we're going to do Approach Her Like Chad. I had some free time, so I went ahead and did Text Game Mastery as well, because I just thought it was such a good fit for it. Luckily, Troy did not kick me out. He was like, well, good on you, mate. And we decided to release it because not only do you need to learn how to approach, how to have some game, how to develop yourself, but what do you do after you get that infamous number? You finally approached, you had a conversation with her, you learn to be crass, you learn to be actorly, you learn to be, you have to help me a bit, crass, humorous. What was the A again? Oh, come on.
Actually.
Yeah, actually.
Seductive?
No, the D was, come on. I know.
There's no D in crass. There's no D in crass.
No, Approach Her Like Chad. Chad was the acronym.
Oh, okay. Well, don't worry about that. We don't need to go into that. We don't need to go into that now. Jesus.
I am a horrible marketer. Speaking of which,
being summoned as I was entering the stream, Approach Like Chad. I was like,
and here he is.
My name is Tusk.
And here we have James Tusk, the
Chad himself,
the ultimate Chad. No, we're just saying because we are releasing an audio product which is going to be called Approach to Date Toolkit, and it's basically 2 of my books, but done as audiobooks by Jack. So there's a book called Approach Her Like Chad, which is basically just a mindset book. It's basically like, okay, so if I was one of those naturals, if I was one of those dudes who just gets this stuff and he can just do it, okay, how would I act then? So that's about that. And then the second book is Text Game Mastery, which is a book about texting and just how to take this from, okay, I've got her number. What do you do then once you got the digits? But it's an audio book narrated by Jack. So it's going to be really good for guys because, you can just listen to it over and over, and it's going to help you to really get your attitude, your mindset right as we go into this glorious summer of ours.
Well, I think it's great. I think your own perceived value of yourself is super important as well, because we all know guys who we look at and go, fucking hell, his, for want of a better phrase, sexual market value is quite low, but he thinks he's a boss. And so what happens? People perceive him as a boss. So to a large degree, I mean, if you can marry the 2 together, obviously max out your actual objective sexual market value, plus have that self-perception of yourself as a boss, you've got the ultimate. But failing that, even as a shortcut, just having that perceived mindset, I think carries you far. Because I've seen guys like that. I'm just like, fucking hell, I get to know them. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like he's living in his mum's basement. He doesn't have any value. He's not even got a job, but he thinks he's got a gift, so he gets laid like a rock star. So it becomes a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I've seen guys, I'm thinking of a couple of guys actually. Somebody who I met some years ago who was a friend of a friend, banker guy, kind of good job, but not sort of physically I mean, not very tall, and height obviously is something that people bang on about the whole time. So, you know, I have to mention that. I mean, good, decent looking, but not, you know, not an Adonis or anything. But he was just super on it, socializing. You know, he'd be at the bar and suddenly he'd be talking to 2 Spanish girls from Barcelona and they'd all be dancing together and blah, blah, blah. And you can sometimes see people operating like that. And I mean, for me anyway, I kind of think, well, I almost default into that way of thinking. It's like, oh, well, but he's got that. Oh yeah, he's just that kind of guy, you know, and therefore I'm not. So therefore he's different and special, and that he's doing something that I couldn't do. But of course, the reality is I can do it, right? We can all do it. We can all do those actions. It's almost a bit like, I mean, we had guys on the last boot camp, didn't we? Who you might think, well, decent looking guy, not Giga Chad, you know, not what they talk about on the internet, like 6'4" tall and, you know, carved like a Greek god, but going in there and just being very sociable and very on. And the way that women react to it is just amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, completely agree. I also like this new terminology, Giga Chad. Is this a new one?
Yeah, it apparently is. I found out he's a ditch guy with like a hairline that starts here, or I thought that was Photoshop, but apparently he's a Russian Instagram model. That guy exists. I'm like, what? I'll look it up real quick on Twitter, the guy's name. It is insane.
If you got a picture, bring it, put the picture in and we'll bring it up. Fuck, yeah. Man, well, James, we might have to watch out for him in Moscow. He could ruin everything.
No, he really could. But I like the way you're talking about the actual social skills element of it, because it's so important. I think, you know, with guys, a lot of guys that get in touch with us who are looking for kind of coaching. Obviously, they're looking to kind of up their dating lives. It all stems really, in my opinion, from having taught this for a long time and trying to always think, what are the things that people are doing that cause the most effect, that have the most impact? And it often comes down to just being more sociable. Because I'd say most of the guys that get in touch with me, the vast majority, whether they're in a high-powered career or not, they come from that kind of more introverted background where they tend to be good listeners, but they're not necessarily the most charismatic speakers. They're not the best storytellers. They're not the best engaging group. So I think what I try and get guys to do is really write down socially what scares them, right? What their weakest link is. Whether that's storytelling, whether that's holding court in a group, you know, maybe at a fucking house party, whatever, and then work on those elements relentlessly, because you're only as strong as your weakest link socially. And what we tend to do, where we do have some social barriers or social fears, is actually kind of hide away from those. We rarely tend to address them. We try to overcompensate in other areas, which is fine. But essentially, I really do believe social skills, you have to be all-rounded. You have to be a great listener. You have to be able to, like, also just boss a room. Socially, be very charismatic, hold court, tell stories, you know, be socially quite fearless. And so breaking down these kind of areas and different scenarios people are weak at and then really addressing them, I think is really the first step to getting good at any of this stuff. Because to be good at it, you have to be socially adept. We're basically talking about emotional intelligence, aren't we? We're talking about like regulating your emotions, you know, understanding other people's emotions, and being able to basically react in real time, depending on basically reading a room, they call it, right? Whether that's in a conversation with a hot girl, or whether that's, you know, you talking about a dinner party with your boss about a raise and there's a couple of clients there. It's all social skills. It's all that ability to connect, just in a somewhat different arena, whether you're trying to get a girl to undress or whether you're trying to get an extra zero on your bank balance to up your pay grade. It's all social skills. Life is all sales. So the more people can think of it as this mindset of trying to become these charismatic characters, these all-rounders, I think that's the healthy approach to begin with this, not just, I want to read 3 pickup lines and bang 10s. It doesn't work like that. That's an outdated nonsense view. You know, that's from 20 years ago when the game first came out.
Yeah, for sure. Jack's brought up this guy's Instagram. Jesus.
That guy's real?
Yep, that guy's real.
Now I know how it feels to feel like a 3.
Yeah. But I mean, so actually, let's just have a quick look at this. That's the guy's Instagram, and you can see the different pictures on there.
I mean, what sort of? It looks like something out of X-Men. That probably real. Oh God, he's up to, what's he up to there? And yet, photo 5 or photo 6, it looks like he's dating 5s. What's he up to?
I don't know. Let's have a look. Well, he's got the blue steel look down, hasn't he?
I mean, yeah, fair enough if he's keeping birds off his Insta, I get that. But, yeah, you'd expect it to be a bit of a worldie, wouldn't you?
Yeah. God, I wish they'd stop. I wish they'd stop using shots of my my 12 pack without my permission. Look at this.
Yeah, they've ripped you off, Troy.
Yeah.
You're going to have to sign up to Putin's pleasure palace and report. Knock on the door and say, sorry. That's
yeah. But the argument on some quarters of the internet would be, well, listen, that guy, if that guy walks into the bar, he's just going to hoover everything up. And if you're not that guy, then you're playing at a disadvantage, right?
You are. And I was out with a very switched on student yesterday. He works. He's very, very switched on guy, good looking guy, 25. He's got kind of all the elements there. Works in investment hedge funds or whatever. Setting up a new firm, very young to be doing it, but obviously bossing life. And he was talking about the fact that now he's doing game. Instagram is prevalent because when I started day game, there was no Instagram, right? But now when we're competing again, Svetlana in the little Russian town, who if you rolled into town as the guy who had game you'd be at massive advantage. Now you're competing not against maybe other guys cold approaching. You're competing against, Mark Cuban's fucking assistant spam botting a load of these fucking Russian birds, being like, fly out to San Diego, I'll take you to a game. Right? So you're competing against hidden things. Instagram, it has made this a lot harder in some ways because women are going to look at that guy and he's got like an assistant literally just spamming out to just to leads, right, to be like come and meet me because he's got some money, which is actually a fairly viable way of getting girls in if you've got a very public persona. But you are competing against these other things. Life isn't fair and you have to fucking adapt, right? It's Darwinist fucking creation in reality.
Yeah. Well, actually, this is something that Rollo Tomasi has been going on about for quite a while now, the globalized sexual marketplace or the global sexual marketplace. And it's like this idea that what you're saying is like, some girl who from a little village in Siberia, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, even 10 years ago, right? She'd probably marry the guy from the local bar or the guy who works in the local garage or whatever. And that will be it. But now, of course, the world's been blown open because of things like Instagram. And now she's being invited to the boat party in Dubai and, whatever else. And I think all of that is true without a doubt. I think that absolutely, like you're saying, it does have an effect. But I think that where people make a mistake is to basically say, okay, game over. Because that guy exists, I may as well not bother because he's out there in the world. How am I going to compete with that? All right, well, I'm just going to lay in my bedroom for the rest of my life then.
He can't be everywhere all the time. That's the whole thing. Like
he's got superpowers.
Yeah, but the whole thing about giga chats and things like that, it's like, yeah, they're over there. The sexual marketplace. Yes, it's global right now, but it's also geographical. I mean, take Tusk, for example. Take you, Troy. You guys travel. Like, okay, I don't like the results I get in London. Well, get on a plane. These days, travel isn't that all expensive anymore as it used to be. And, well, like I said, it's out there. It's geographical. GigaChat can't be everywhere at once.
Yeah, exactly. But also as well, I mean, I don't think the market is that corrupted by this stuff yet. Because if you go and have actual normal conversations with normal women, right, they are still responding in the same way. They still like direct approach. They still like somebody with the chutzpah to come up and put their balls on the line and just have a normal conversation. And that just makes such a massive difference. And I think the problem with this is not, I mean, the internet has changed things. Yes, the apps have changed things for sure. But what are you going to do about it, right? You've still got to go out there and shoot your shots.
Adapt. That's the only thing you can do.
It's the only thing you can do, isn't it? Adapt. I mean, the only consistent thing in life is change. And yeah, you can't sit there whining about it. No one gives a fuck, right? That's the thing.
Like I said in the beginning of the show, Troy, and I don't know if you caught that, Tusk, but it's like, I would rather blame myself for every failure I have with a girl on me than say, well, bitches ain't shit. Because even if that be the case, I'd still I can improve myself. I can't change behavior from others. So the more I focus on, well, maybe I'm doing something wrong, at least I can control that. As soon as I point the finger towards somebody else, then that's when it's over. Because, well, it's because Instagram, it's because I'm not 6'5". It's because I'm Caucasian or whatever. It's because my hair is long, or my watch has a color they don't like, or my eyes aren't brown like Tusk's are. As soon as that shit starts to happen, you lose all control.
Yeah, exactly.
I would prefer to have blue eyes for record, Mr. Napier, as a la you.
I would love to trade.
We do some try like eye transplant gig, like where we switch it, well, like one eye.
You could like David Bowie.
Yeah. We have to do it outside of hay fever season, though, because now my great bluish green eyes have been infected with pollen. It's absolutely atrocious.
So you stuck your channel up here, Jack.
Yes.
So is that a signal that at some point you need to leave this glorious stream?
I gotta go, guys. I have an appointment.
Times.
It's been a pleasure. And Mr. Napier, apologies for rescheduling.
I thought the reason was pretty legit.
I was going through a bit of a fear and loathing in Las Vegas style weekend, so hence why I wasn't quite compos mentis. But we'll reschedule in, aren't we?
We're all good, man. We're all good. No worries.
Good stuff.
Troy, I'll talk to you later about the logistics.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, next Friday we're launching these audiobooks, guys. It's going to be called Approach to Date Toolkit. It's going to be $39, so inexpensive, but it's a transformative audio program. We'll be putting the links out and stuff next week. We'll probably do another show about this, so look out for that. But anyway, Jack, thanks ever so much. James, did you want to stay on for a few minutes, James?
Yeah, is there any way we can switch so that my audience can see this as well? Because they're getting worried because I haven't posted in 5 days. And they're like, where have you gone?
Well, if you want to do that, if you want to set up another one, we can finish this and then we can do another one if you want and go over to your channel. But if you give me 10 minutes and I'll and then we can go on to another one on your
nice one.
Cool. Good stuff. All right, well we will end this for now, guys. And if you want to see more of me and James in a minute, we'll be going over to his channel in about 10 minutes or so.
Come over there.
Good stuff. All right, see you later, guys. Bye-bye.